Hey everyone, it's Elo. I hope that you've been doing well. I wanted to apologize for my sort of delay in filming this month. I'm sure the title of this video is going to give away why, and the fact that I'm in this new environment. This is my new bedroom, and I am living in an apartment now, so I apologize if there's any background noise. I'll do my best to make pleasant transitions where necessary. So I thought about scripting this video, and not really scripting it, but having talking points. And I know generally the points that are important to me to take away from this whole experience and the things that I want to share with others who may be going through a heartbreak or facing a potential heartbreak in their future. But I didn't really want to have a sheet of bullet points to talk about, because I feel like this is such an emotional and human thing to go through that doing that would kind of take away the natural element of just talking about it. So I put on some comfy clothes. I probably look semi like a mess. I've been moving and it's been very stressful, and I'm getting like acne and I've been eating like crap, so it is what it is. And I've got my gansito that I'm going to eat after this. Thank you to the person on Twitch who recommended those to me. They're really good if you've never had them before. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about breaking up. For those of you who may not know, I was in a relationship with the same person for a little over, or around 3 years, a little over 3 years, I guess. And we moved in together fairly quickly that summer. So since it's summer now, it would probably be exactly 3 years that we started actually living together. And that relationship was a good one overall, I guess. He and I are still friends. We have seen each other. There's no hard feelings or upset between the two of us. It just didn't pan out in the way that I definitely was hoping for it to. And that's kind of something that I want to touch on in this video, is the idea that even if you know a relationship isn't sustainable in the long run, it can still feel like a failure of some sort when it ends. And that is an extra layer to breaking up with someone that I think people don't really talk about as specifically as maybe we should. Whenever I was younger and, you know, my girlfriends and I would talk about breaking up with people or dating people or whatever, it was all kind of just infatuation. It wasn't very complicated. We certainly weren't living with those people and making those, 24-hour-a-day memories with them. And that's a really intense thing. And I think, whether you're married to someone or not, if you're living with them full time for any length of time, they become your world. And I don't think that a piece of paper or a judge makes that breakup any less painful than a divorce. It's a very similar thing. You have to take your things and split them, and you have to make decisions about how to move forward, and there are a lot of feelings that come up Sometimes you feel resentment that you didn't know you had. Sometimes you get petty. Sometimes you just feel really, really sad. There are a lot of different ways that that experience can unfold, and it's all very overwhelming. And if you were living with someone and then you have to move out, so in my situation, we were living in his house. You know, we always called it our house. He bought it while we were together, and we moved in together. He didn't spend a single night in that house without me. So it was kind of like it was our house, and he always treated it that way as well. There was never a separation or divide, but at the same time, I did not sign the mortgage or anything, so that was his property and still is. And emotionally, though, it was just as much my space, if not more, than his, because I poured a lot of my effort and heart into making it feel like home. And he didn't care as much about that kind of stuff. I think that he appreciated the outcome of my hard work, but he didn't enjoy doing those things with me. So that house was a real labor of love for me, and I became very attached to it. And it was very much so folded into our relationship. So when you're in that position and then you're the one who has to move out, that just adds a lot more tension and stress on you emotionally, because there's a lot to grieve for. Not only are you having to let go of your routine and your lifestyle and the person who's definitely become your best friend by that point, you're closest to them than anyone else. You also have to say goodbye to the home that you built and the things that you loved and the stores that you went to and the restaurants that the two of you would frequent, that kind of thing. And that's all very difficult. It's not any less, in my opinion, than any other parting of the ways. Losing someone in any fashion, whether it's through death, through divorce, through a breakup, through a move across the country, it hurts. It's very difficult to change your life like that. So I do apologize for having a gap in my filming, but I, within the span of like literally 3 weeks, was broken up with, and then had to find a place to live, which was difficult, and then had to actually move and set everything up, and it's still kind of a little bit of a mess in here, but I'm settling in. Last night was my first night here and I survived. So if you are going through this process or are about to go through this process, I definitely want to say that even though it is intensely difficult and there are moments that feel just so heartbreaking, there's no really other way to put it, it is something that you can live through and come out on the other side with a whole new routine and a new sense of belonging. And when you're by yourself, you get to craft that sense of belonging whichever way that you feel you want to. And I know that sometimes that doesn't seem like enough of a silver lining for the fact that you're losing everything you care about. But I think the reason why I'm able to manage as well as I have, which has not consistently been this well, is because I've been through this once before, and my only other really long-term relationship, I lived with that person for 4 years, and it dissolved in a similar manner. It was just that time I was the one who initiated the breakup because it wasn't worth it to me to keep going through that same relationship dynamic. I knew that it wasn't going to change. And this time I also knew that it wasn't going to change, but I wanted to do anything I could to make it work. And I think that he and I realized that there was nothing I could do, that he has some stuff that he just needs to figure out by himself. And that's not really something I can be mad about. Everybody has their own time frame for just figuring out their life, and I understand that it's difficult to give yourself to someone and pay them attention and treat them well if you don't feel like you have yourself figured out yet. And we say that kind of thing to people all the time, you know, you need to love yourself before you can love someone else. I don't know if that's 100% true. I think that people can certainly grow with their partner, but if their partner doesn't want to grow with them, then it's not going to work out. And that's kind of the situation I was in. So I had been, you know, contemplating breaking up with him myself, but I just couldn't pull the trigger because I felt like losing that relationship meant that I was failing at the milestones that I wanted to achieve in my life at this stage. He was really the first person that I felt seriously like I could spend my life with, and there are 1,000 reasons why that doesn't make much sense. It wasn't a perfect relationship, and for those of you who have been at my wellness streams or even just listened to some of my other videos, little snippets here and there, I've alluded to the fact that there were things that could have been going better, and I know that. But sometimes you get set on what you feel like you should be doing in your life, and it can make you feel very tied to decisions that might not even be in your best interest, and you might even know logically that it's not in your best interest, and yet still have this overwhelming sense that that's something you need to do. And I think that that's the situation I was in. So it meant a lot to me to hang on to that relationship. And I think that that's something that's kind of hard to admit. it feels bad to even say out loud that someone broke up with you, you know, because immediately everyone's gonna think it's your fault. What did you do? What's wrong with you? And as the person who is saying that, that brings about a level of shame and discomfort. So I think just admitting in the first place, like, yeah, you know, he or she broke up with me, that doesn't always mean that it was that person's fault. And it doesn't mean that there's anyone to blame sometimes. Things just don't always work out the way that you hoped, and it does take time to realize whether or not something is going to work out. And I think that that's evident in the very high rates of divorce and issues that we have statistically all over the world, especially here in America. I know people rush into getting married because from the time that we're very little, we're trained to follow these certain goals: school, career, marriage, babies, die. You know, it's very scheduled. And in the first place, I don't really fit that schedule. I've not hit any of those markers in the traditional time frame thus far. I was a very late bloomer. I have had issues with my sexuality. I've had issues with my understanding of what I want out of life, and I've never felt perfectly comfortable being myself. And those things can get in the way of these markers, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. My main goal in life is to be happy and to just wake up excited about something. Maybe not every day, that's unrealistic, but I do think that it's possible to craft a life that you enjoy. And I know for a fact that it's not my interest to be a mother or a housewife or a priest or I don't know, a clothes maker. There are a lot of things that I'm not cut out for, or they don't bring me any sort of fulfillment. Not that those things aren't all valid in their own right, and they might be perfect for someone else. They're just not perfect for me. And a lot can go wrong when you try to fit yourself into a box that you don't belong in. And even though some people might look down their nose at me for, you know, being nearly 30 and unwed and having no children, I look down my nose at them for being unhappy and for settling for a life that they don't feel that great in. A lot of people out there are faking it. A lot of people project their own unhappiness and insecurities and fears onto others, and jealousy as well. I don't really look down my nose at these people, but I actually feel badly for them. Sometimes I hear stories about mothers or people who are in certain situations. I gravitate towards motherhood as being like the ultimate horrible thing because of how much I don't want to be a mom. but I really respect that role in life, so hopefully that makes sense. But I just can't imagine having a child or multiple children and having to answer to other beings and be responsible for them and put their well-being above my own. Ironically, I think that's kind of how my ex-boyfriend felt. I think that he had that selfishness for himself, that he couldn't even open up enough to be a partner to me, and probably not to anyone, because when you have that feeling, it's pervasive. It doesn't just stop all of a sudden. If you handed me a really, really, really cute baby, I'd think it was a really cute baby, but that wouldn't automatically change my long-term feelings towards having to raise another being. So there is a sort of validity in what you feel in that way. There's a major validity in that, actually, because it determines your course in life. And if you go against that, and you do get married to someone who you're not really 100% happy with, or you do have children because you feel like you're supposed to, or you're pressured into it, or you go to a certain church because your friends do, or you go to school for a certain profession because your parents said that you should. Anything that other people influence you to do can make you unhappy if your heart isn't really in it. And one of my favorite sayings that I actually learned from Harry Potter is, "The truth will out." And essentially that just means in time the reality will catch up and the truth will come out. You will not be able to hold in forever those feelings of unhappiness. And unfortunately, those things explode in horrific ways sometimes, and we end up with people who murder their spouses or commit horrible crimes, have affairs, bribe people, do all kinds of things, or just self-harm, or do something illegal for the sort of thrill of it, I guess, in order to cope with their unhappiness and to find a way out. And so I guess circling back around, that's kind of what I mean, that this really is a silver lining, to have the ability to craft my life the way that I want to. And maybe that will involve a partner in the future, and maybe it won't. I don't know yet. I think that the system that we're pushed through and the goals that we're supposed to attain by such and such age really prevent us from being able to figure it out for ourselves. And I think a lot of people unfortunately end up in lives that they can stand or that they get used to, but they're not really thrilled about. And I'm sure that for some people that's totally fine. But I've always been very headstrong, and that's not the life that I want to live. Especially as someone who's been struggling with anxiety and depression for a really long time, and having been through emotional trauma and other issues. That's just not for me. I already have such a hard time enjoying life that adding those stressors to myself is a recipe for disaster. I need to find the things that are going to make me feel happy. And I don't mean doing lines of cocaine and partying and chasing some crazy fever dream. I just mean the simple stuff, you know, having a community, having friends, having things that I enjoy, having movies and music and things that make me laugh, and places I enjoy going, and food I enjoy eating, and a career that I enjoy doing, a way to make a living that doesn't make me feel like I'm trapped. Those things are all very important to me. At the same time, I think I have struggled to manifest all of those things, as it's said, because I've never taken the time to just be by myself. I've only had short periods in my life where I wasn't involved with someone in some way, and in the times that I wasn't, I was usually caught up in family issues and drama and emotions. So thinking about myself has never been at the top of my list. I've always been wanting to help others, and for the first time I feel like I'm ready to help myself and to figure out really what makes me happy. I know that sounds probably really like cliche and lame, but it's not an opportunity that you have all the time, unless you're very fortunate and your partner is very, very supportive and encouraging of your uninhibited growth. It's not something that you can just do. Other people take a lot of your energy, and maintaining friendships and relationships takes time and energy. And on top of that, you're working, or you're going to school, or doing whatever it is you have to do, and all of your responsibilities and obligations build to this level where you have no time left for yourself. And so I'm somewhat excited to have that time, and I feel like it's coming at a good time for me, because I'm also getting to a place where I'm really starting to see value in myself. I've done a lot of stupid things over the course of my life just because I didn't respect myself very much. And maybe I was looking for attention, or maybe I wanted to fit in, or maybe I was feeling reckless. I don't know. There are a lot of different moods I've been through as a result of having low self-esteem, and it has led me towards perpetuating these same emotional dynamics in every relationship that I come across. I always end up with the same emotionally unavailable, selfish person. And on a deeper note, that is definitely a reflection of the environment I grew up in. I don't purposefully seek that out, but it is an obvious pattern in my life that I get used to people who aren't as invested in me or aren't as capable of being invested in me the way that I want, out of a partner or a friend or whatever. And I always end up unhappy. And again, there's really no fault in these things. It's just something that you see and you learn from and you fix it. And I feel very fortunate that I haven't made any lasting poor decisions that affected the course of my life. I'm still very much a free agent. I have a lot of opportunity to do whatever I want now. I don't have anyone in my life left who's critical of me or using me or gaslighting me or making me feel like I'm not good enough. So for once, I am starting to feel like, you know what? I do have some good qualities. Here are the things that I like about myself, and I don't really want to always be subservient to other people. I don't want to only be attached to people who need me for their own personal gain. I want to make my gains. I want to move forward with my life and my career and my happiness, and that is my ultimate goal, in life anyway, and I don't really need anyone to do that. I think that quite opposite. In order to start that journey, I need exactly what I'm falling into right now, is a sense of self-worth and my uninhibited freedom. And I'm hopeful that sharing these thoughts will maybe inspire or comfort anyone else who's facing the same thing. As I mentioned in the beginning, breakups, divorces, losing people, it's painful. There's no way around it. It hurts. It's a lot to go through, whether you have to move or not. It's all taxing and distressing, and you might feel a lot of things that are very, very harsh and intense. However, it's not all bad, because you have an opportunity when something ends like that to sort of start fresh, and what you make of that is kind of the important part. Don't go running back to an old flame. Don't get yourself invested in someone else right away. Don't even, join a new group right away. Just be with yourself for some time. And I'm lucky in the fact that throughout my experiences and my failed relationships, I have been sort of cataloging in my head, I like that, I don't like that, I feel good when I do this, but I don't feel good when I do that. And I have a pretty solid understanding of what makes me feel good and what makes me feel bad. So I have a foundation that I feel like I can build off of. But that's something that you can cultivate as well at any point in time. Whether you're in a relationship or not, whether you're breaking up with someone or not, you could be really, really happy in your love life, but maybe you're not happy in other areas of your life. It's all changeable. And when you don't have that routine keeping you complicit with what you've been doing, it's even more changeable, because nothing is stopping you anymore from making excuses not to change. You have the opportunity to do whatever you want. So I hope that that can be a source of comfort, just something to look forward to in your time of intense darkness. And it is dark. I never want to make it seem like the suffering isn't a part of it. It is. You have to do it. You have to grieve. You have to feel sad. You have to mourn the things that you're going to be without, because they always mean something to you, even if it's not the obvious surface level thing. Sometimes it's just like a feeling. It might be stability, or it might be protection, security, safety, whatever you want to call it, that has been provided through that routine that you developed. And breaking out of that bubble is terrifying. No matter who you are, it's really scary. But once you do break out of that bubble and you heal past what you feel like you've lost, you realize what you've gained instead. And I'm still in the grieving, mourning, healing phase. I don't even think I've hit healing yet, because this is so new, and this relationship really did mean a lot to me. And like I said, it might have been for the wrong ultimate reasons, but that doesn't change the truth of how I felt for this person and how much effort I put into loving him and creating a life. And it was all very real and felt really important, and I'm going to miss it a lot. But I do know that it will be okay in the end, and it gets easier. The more times you sort of go through something like this, you build resilience, and it becomes easier to realize that you don't need anyone but yourself to survive, and also that you can depend on yourself to thrive, and then no one is going to be letting you down. It's all on your shoulders and at your own pace and liking. So some things I've done that have made me happy are that I bought this pink bedspread. I never really had anything super girly that I liked or that I picked out myself. I gravitated a lot towards like Scooby-Doo and things like that when I was younger. And then when I was a teenager, I was in my like angsty, I don't know, gothic sort of mindset, I guess, and I went very dark with everything. So this is the first time that I'm just kind of saying fuck it, like I'm gonna do whatever I want to. I don't care if it looks immature or silly or girly or whatever to someone else. I'm going to get the things that make me happy. And I remember remember like it was so long ago. As I was unpacking, I started thinking about where I should put these little pops that I have. And I was thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't put any in my bedroom because somebody might think that that's weird. And then I was thinking, like, wait, stop thinking like that. Do you like it? Then do it. This is your space. This is you're paying for this. You're working hard for it. You have all the authority in this 450 square feet or whatever it is to be yourself without giving 1/2 of 2 shits what anyone else thinks. So I got my fluffy pink quilt, bedspread, whatever, and it's incredibly soft and comfortable and I love it already. And I've been setting things up in my apartment exactly the way that I want them, and I'm happy, you know. I'm happy with where I'm headed. I'm not happy with the things I'm having to go through in this moment, but I'm happy about the future. I think about it and I don't think that this was the wrong decision. So I hope that any of this was helpful at all. I hope that if you're now or in the future, or if you're still trying to get over something that happened in the past, I hope that this can help you think about the things that are important to you and what you really want out of your life. And just go for whatever really does sound good to you. Don't worry about what anyone else would think or say, because that's your life. The same way, here's my metaphor, the same way that, you know, doing something like decorating your room is up to you, the way that you live your life is just as simply up to you. Don't worry about what other people, whether it's your parents or your aunt, your grandma, your friends, your cousins, whatever people want to think, doesn't matter. You should go for all of the things that are going to make you absolutely happiest. I am excited to picture my future, thinking that I might be, I don't know, I'm going to be a massage therapist, of course, which I'm really excited about, and maybe I'll have, you know, a place down here to work during the winter, and then maybe during the summer I'll go up to my favorite place, Provincetown, and Cape Cod in general, and maybe I'll have a bungalow there and perform massage therapy there as well. The choices in the future are all up to me, and there's so many things now that I can consider that I couldn't before, so it's gonna be good. Thank you guys for listening, if you've listened this long, and I will be back with my regular content very soon. I have all this time and space now to record for myself whenever I want to, noise permitting, and hopefully the background noise in this is not too bad. I do hear some bugs that have been chirping this whole time. I kind of think that's pretty relaxing, but I don't know what most people feel. But I'll figure it out, and I have some ideas for new videos, and I'm ready to be filming and uploading consistently again. So I will see you guys so soon. Feel free to talk to me about your own experiences with your relationships in the comments below, and I'll see you in my next video.